Hello everyone. This story is about, what if Naruto was raised by the ANBU and fall in love with Ino? He is very strong and smart, being a fuinjutsu genius and trained by the ANBU commander Ryo. Please like, share and subscribe for more amazing stories like this one. Now let's start. The day was long for Hatake Kakashi. The infamous A-ranked shinobi, son of the White Fang, student of the Yellow Flash, the copy ninja was reduced to being a footman. This day marked the 5th delivery and recon mission he had done in as many days. For nearly a week, he had been subjugated to the same mundane safety of main roads. It was hardly fitting of an ANBU captain to be traveling abreast with simple merchants and traveling shows, clutching onto a small scroll that surely no one wanted to steal. In his stretching career as a trained assassin, he'd never been as bored. He hadn't used any of his 1000 jutsu in a while and his hands were becoming restless. Sparks of electricity flared between his fingers as he removed his ANBU mask, stuffing everything into his locker. He was once again in his room, within reach of his warm and comfortable bed, his too comfortable bed. It was too soft, as was he. There was a time when he found dirt too soft, opting for a strong branch for sleep. Now he felt sleepy, just at the sight of his bed. Perhaps the Hokage was punishing him for something, perhaps this was the ANBU version of deranked missions. But why? It has been a long time since his last blunder, if it could even be considered that. He and his team were ambushed and Tenzo was safekeeping the prisoner. It was only logical to force his team to retreat while he held the lines. He had protected his comrades and ensured the success of the mission. The Hokage had insisted that Kakashi still had self-sacrificing tendencies. The Hokage was wrong. Sure, he may have at one point in his life grown tired of living, but that was before a little ball of sunshine took over all free hours of his life. Kakanai, said Ball of Sunshine, launched himself at his brother and landed on his shoulders, grasping at his silver hair. You're back. Kakashi gave a low chuckle. Yes, I'm back. He held onto the boy's ankles to steady him, but what are you still doing up? It's almost 11 o'clock. I just finished my report to Commander Ryo. Naruto grinned, bouncing on his brother's shoulders. He said I did a good job. I'm too excited to sleep. I see, muttered the captain as he made his way to their usual evening gathering spot, the smaller cafeteria located on the eastern wing of the barracks. And how many of your sister's snacks did you eat to celebrate? You are way too energetic tonight. The boy shrugged, just a few cookies. I finished most of my snacks with Ino-chan today, so I didn't have much left. He pouted, the commander didn't let Nanane bake more cookies for tonight. Kakashi chuckled again. Ino-chan, huh? Did you have fun today? Lots of fun. Naruto smiled brighter than Kakashi had ever seen. Ino-chan is so cool and so smart. She let me draw a storage seal on her arm and it only took her an hour to learn how to use it. She told me they only started the leaf floating exercise at the academy, but she was able to mold enough chakra to seal and unseal 10 bottles of water by the end. The brothers made their way into the dining area, and Kakashi saw most of his colleagues were still there. Yugao, Nana, Mizu, and Shiki were all huddled together in the middle of the room, sitting in front of the TV, giggling loudly into the night. Even Tenzo was still awake, silently trimming his precious bonsai tree behind the ladies, a small smile on his face as he watched the screen. Ko sat beside him, his legs up on the table and hands behind his head, quietly chuckling. Even Commander Ryu was there, standing tall and stoic with his arms crossed, silently regarding the TV with his hawk-like eyes. All the while, Naruto was still relaying to his favorite brother every small detail about the Yamanaka heiress. Accurate and minute to the point, to which Kakashi wondered if they'd trained him too well. Welcome back, senpai, greeted Tenzo, chuckling at his captain. Did you know, apparently Inoichi-san's daughter is the top student of her class? Oh, and she's super cool and really loves Nana's chocolate chip cookies, Ko added with a grin. Tenzo sighed with a grin. Naruto has not stopped talking about his new best friend ever since he came home. Naruto huffed and crossed his arms, balancing himself on Kakashi's shoulders. I was just making my report as thorough as possible. Ah, Naru-chan, started Yugao, are you sure it's not because you already miss her? You keep talking about how you promised to meet with her again next week. Naruto turned a little red. Don't worry, we'll let you go see her whenever you want to. And we'll make some more snacks for you next time. Apparently, Ino-chan loves sweet things. Not to mention that she's the spy master of the academy, added Commander Ryu, completely serious. This girl has acquired intelligence on most of her classmates, but despite this, she has yet to utilize any of such information for personal gain. This indicates an acceptable ethical standard and an understanding of using power in moderation. I am very impressed with young Yamanaka-san. Naruto nodded enthusiastically as others sweat dropped, used to the commander's personality. Kakashi-senpai, called out Shiki, you should come take a look at this. Yeah, cried out Naruto, Nachan recorded my mission. They said I did a good job. Kakashi knelt down to the TV, his one normal eye watching closely. It was obviously filmed from an eagle's eye view, aiming down at the targets, namely Naruto and the little Yamanaka girl. It was a good angle and the shot was clear, it was steady as well, they must have mounted the camera. The sound was also coming through loud and clear, they must have been prepared and fully equipped. Naruto hopped down to the ground. I made it to the target destination on time and without a trail. Kakashi watched the screen and saw his little brother step from the shadows while using his expression of apathy, as trained by him. But also saw him completely lose it upon seeing his friend. Okay, I may have lost my focus there, but it did not cost me the mission. Ah, did Ino-chan scare you? Asked Nana, pulling her chibi into her arms, or was she so pretty that you completely lost focus? Naruto blushed, I was just surprised. At how pretty she is, asked Yugao, looking innocent. No. Naru, why don't you explain to Kakashi what happened here? Asked Shiki as the screen showed Naruto pulling Ino into the shade. Right, exclaimed the boy. The day was unexpectedly hot and Ino-chan must have been standing in the sun for too long. While conversing, I noticed her face was turning red, like exceedingly red. His sisters all crossed their arms and nodded sagely along. I realized that it must be a sign of heat stroke. Kakashi choked on his spit as Tenzo and Ko chuckled. As you can see, I was forced to retreat to a cooler area, and because of Ino-chan's weakened state, I thought it best that I lead her by the hand. Yes, that was a smart move, Naruto, commented Ko, very smooth. Right, replied Naruto, looking utterly confused. It was at this point that I noticed her hand was getting sweaty, another sign of heat stroke. Ko and Tenzo chuckled again as Kakashi stared at Naruto. I had to hurry, so I regrettably held onto her hand tighter and ran faster. At this point, even her voice was weak. She even started to stutter. I was really worried, but we got to the bench on time. Was her face still red? Asked Kakashi, sounding serious. Yes. Naruto pointed at the TV, it was getting even more red. She looked like a tomato. Kakashi was seriously wondering if Minato-sensei's overly dominant genes somehow compelled his son to be attracted to tomato girls. Kushina must have been smiling down at her son at that moment. She had often told Kakashi that she wanted Naruto to find a girl like her. I placed my hand on her forehead to see if she was burning up and she was. And she kept getting redder. Kakashi just stared at his brother, the girls all quieting laughing behind them. The heat must have somehow affected her, so I thought to unseal some water for her. Kakashi nodded, following along. But here is where I must file a complaint. Naruto huffed. The jacket Jiraiya sent me has no stretch. Kakashi watched the screen and saw Naruto take off his jacket in front of the girl before proceeding to show her his arms. I had to take it off to get the water and that cost me a few seconds. Thankfully, I got the water on time. Ino-chan looked like she was close to passing out by then. Kakashi felt his jaw drop as he watched his brother lean close, very close to the girl and proceeded to bottle feed her the water. She was almost unresponsive when I tried to feed her the water. It took a few seconds, but she managed to drink some. Thank goodness, because I'm not sure if she would still want to be my friend if she passed out the first time we played together. Why, you almost made a girl pass out the first time you played with her? Asked Kakashi, ignoring the laughs of Tenzo and Ko. No, I didn't, answered Naruto, the heat did. Aren't you listening, Kakenai? Please, continue. And so the boy did, recounting his first mission to the most minute detail, supported by video evidence. Not once did he notice the baffled and widened eyes of Kakashi. The ANBU captain was looking around at his comrades, all sending him a knowing smile. Even the commander was amused, he had stopped crossing his arms. They all knew. They understand. They realize Naruto's potential and what this could mean. Oh, you look so cool, Naruto-kun, cried Nana loudly, smiling at the boy's blush. Shut up, Nanane. He blushed to the roots of his hair, Ino-chan didn't say it like that. Yuga grinned, so how did she say it? She said it better, he yelled as he grew redder, just let me give my report. The highlights were reviewed and soon the tape came to a close. I knew you were coming home tonight, Kake, so I called it a day when the sun started to go down. Ino-chan looked a little disappointed, but she told me that her parents are waiting for her at home, too. We ended it there, but I promised her that we'll play again next weekend. Kakashi stared down at his beloved little brother, who actually ended his playtime with a girl just so he could welcome him home. On one hand, he was elated and proud that he meant so much to his brother, but on the other, he regretted rushing home so quickly. If he had taken the time and camped for the night, could Naruto have progressed even further on his mission? Perhaps at sundown, the Yamanaka girl could still be blushing and his innocent brother could actually catch on. Kakashi damned his own efficiency. As he was reeling from his thoughts, Yugao broke the silence. So, Naru-chan, she asked with a grin, what do you plan to do with Ino-chan next weekend? Are you going to spend both days with her? Naruto hopped to turn to his sister, looking up at her pleadingly, I haven't asked Ji-chan yet, but can I? I promise I'll finish all my homework and clock in all my field training. Yugao's grin widened as Nana stepped in, oh, I'm sure Hokage-sama will allow it. He wouldn't stand in the way of young love. Naruto tilted his head, what do you mean by that? Nothing, answered Mizu, bringing Naruto to her arms, turning him away from his other sisters, making them roll their eyes at her. Don't worry about what she said, just focus on playing at the park and enjoy yourself. You're still a child, so all you need to worry about is playing and meeting new friends, okay? He grinned and nodded, yeah, I can do that. Shiki sighed, and stood with a clap, okay, we've had our fun. Time for bed. She lightly patted Naruto's back and pushed Mizu along, Naru-chan still needs to take his bath and brush his teeth. You stay up any later and you'll be sorry in the morning. Your studies will still start at 8 o'clock sharp. Naruto pouted as he was carried away, fine. Good night, Chibi, muttered Tenzo, with a wave. Good night, Tenzo nii, the boy muttered, clearly pouting. Good night, everybody. Ko chuckled, good night, kiddo. Have some sweet dreams. Mizu immediately glared at him and rushed on, yes, dream about puppies and candy. Yugao and Nana giggled and followed along. If you keep that up, Mizu will gut you in your sleep. Nana flicked Ko's head, reel it in, before you push her too far. Ko slipped his hand into hers and kissed her knuckles, you'll protect me, right? Nana winked and ran her fingers through his hair, maybe, depends on what you say. Oh, get a room, muttered Yugao, walking away. Maybe later, Nana said with another wink, following Yugao out of the room. Now only the men were left in the room and they immediately gathered together, standing in formation with their arms crossed. In silence, they each contemplated the day and the surprises it brought, all revolving around their little prodigy. New light had been shed on their situation. Until today, they all had thought Naruto was going to grow up to be a disciplined, efficient, powerful, and deadly shinobi. One they would welcome into their ranks with open arms and have lead the next generation of Konoha to greatness. But now, he could be even more. It seems, started Kakashi with a whisper, it seems our little brother has another natural talent. It would seem so, added Ko, one we don't see very often, especially not in one so young and innocent. Reminds me a bit of Itachi before he went crazy, but even then, Itachi only ever relied on his looks, never his charisma or personality. Chibi has both in spades. Tenzo sighed, I see where this is going, but shouldn't we wait until he's a bit older? I was a chunin at his age, said Kakashi, and we're only talking about learning on paper. There won't be any sort of technical application until he's at least a chunin, maybe genin, it depends if the world is at peace or at war. You're kidding, replied Tenzo, nursing his temples. You try to slip Naruto Ika, and every female colleague of ours will torture and kill you. No, not Ika, Kakashi insisted, just some basic young love novels, completely wholesome, I promise. And some on basic biology, added Ko, he should have some basic sexual education along with the romance novels. We want to avoid any sort of confusion. Good call, answered Kakashi, we should also add in some books on body language and physiological responses. The poor boy thought the girl was having a heat stroke. Ko chuckled, that still makes me laugh. Ahem, Commander Ryu cleared his throat, making the three men straighten up. We may also consider adding certain parameters to his future missions with the young Yamanaka. Kakashi rubbed his chin and thought, nothing indecent, considering their age and station. But subtle indications of progression. Have the boy count the number of times he managed to make the girl smile, or monitor hers or his own heart rate during contact. Or even have him learn as much as he can about her likes and dislikes as possible. The more he knows about her, the better. Oh, that's good. Ko smirked, we should construct lessons on gentlemanly conduct and vocabulary, just like how we taught him the silent killing method. We have him act as such during these missions and rate his performance accordingly. Yes, yes, muttered Kakashi, such parameters will allow us to progressively increase the difficulties of these missions. Ko smirked, by the end, Chibi will be able to charm any woman in the world, not just the Yamanaka heiress. The commander nodded, yes, and we will be able to send him on any mission involving the opposite sex. The amount of information he could retrieve for Konoha would be insurmountable. Female daimyo, wives of daimyo, princesses, noble ladies all around the continent. It would be a gold mine. Yes, for the prosperous future of Konoha, added Ko, that's why we're doing this. Tenzo sighed and relented, no matter what I say, I know you'll ignore me. Kakashi patted his shoulder and nodded in agreement. But let me add, we do this privately and discreetly. We can monitor the situation, but we must not make a public farce of all this. No recording whatsoever. We want Naruto to thrive and succeed as a man, not to use him for entertainment. We do this, and this all stays between us. No one can know. Ko nodded, yes, just the four of us. Hokage-sama will kill us all if we don't include him, added Commander Ryu, same with Jiraiya-sama. Ko shuddered at the thought, yes, you're right. Just the six of us. His first friend is the Yamanaka heiress. Ko whistled, I wonder who else would he meet. And when they grow up, what will happen? How many girlfriends do you think he'll have? Kakashi chuckled at the thought. As a genin on Minato-sensei's team, he had often overheard conversations between Jiraiya and the yondaime. More than once had Jiraiya tried to get Minato to let loose and have some fun. Away from prying eyes and ears, the Sannin had tried to tempt his student with stories of his conquests around the elemental nations, one he would later turn into literary masterpieces. But not once had the yellow flash relented. Kakashi could scarcely count the number of women who had tried to solicit his sensei. It must have been hundreds, even more after he became one of the youngest Kage in history. Whether it was inside the village or outside, Minato-sensei was always surrounded by girls. Kushina-sensei, being one of the most powerful and definitely one of the most violent kunoichi in Konoha, had never once tried to intervene. She was never jealous and had only ever laughed at her boyfriend/husband. She was not the least bit worried because she knew Minato-sensei better than anyone. If there was one thing Namake's Minato was, it was loyal. Minato-sensei was loyal to Konoha and Uzumaki Kushina. The yondaime had the looks, charisma, skill, power, position, and reverence to have any woman in the world, but he only wanted his childhood sweetheart and wife. Now Naruto was in a similar situation. Kakashi wondered if the boy would be like his father in this regard as well. Yamanaka Emiko was perplexed. She had heard from her daughter about her situation with her friends at the academy. While she was proud of her daughter for standing up for poor Sakura-chan, she was worried about Ino losing almost all of her friends. The Yamanaka matriarch had gone on a bakery shopping spree after dropping her daughter off at the park, fully intending to defeat Ino's sadness with sweets. But upon her return, Ino was happier than she'd ever seen her. Sitting together on the couch watching TV, Emiko watched as her daughter giggled to herself. Ino-chan, are you feeling okay? Ino looked at her mother, smiling widely, and nodded. Of course. I feel great. Did you have fun today at the park? I did, the girl replied loudly, I had the best day ever. A manly chuckle interrupted Emiko's next question as Yamanaka Inoichi walked in, happily scooping his daughter into his arms. The girl giggled as she sat on her father's lap, happily bouncing as he sat back down on the couch. Inoichi kissed his daughter's hair, what got you so happy today, princess? I spent the day playing with Naruto-kun. Emiko blinked in surprise along with her husband. Naruto-kun? Did you make a new friend? And is it a boy? Asked Inoichi softly, looking afraid. Yeah, didn't I tell you about him? Ino's smile was so wide Emiko was afraid it'd hurt. I met him yesterday at the park. I was playing in our flower fields and he walked by looking for flowers. We hung out the whole day yesterday and today. She giggled again, much to Inoichi's horror. He's the coolest. Ignoring her husband's pale face, Emiko smiled. That's great to hear, honey. Pausing for thought, how old is Naruto-kun? Is he around your age? Yep, we're the same age. Ino was still bouncing happily on her father's lap, not seeing his horrified expression. Actually, I am 17 days older than him. He was born on October 10th. I asked. That seemed to break Inoichi out of his nightmare. October 10th, 8 years ago? Ino nodded, uh-huh. Emiko caught on, grimacing. That really was not a good day to have for a birthday. If he's your age, have you met him before, at the academy? No, Naruto-kun doesn't go to the academy. Oh, so he's a civilian. Ino shook her head quickly, her smile returning. No, Naruto-kun wants to be a ninja. He wants to be Hokage. Emiko smiled at her daughter's enthusiasm. And he's already got amazing chakra control, way more advanced than what we learn at the academy. Really? Asked Inoichi, where did he learn it if not at the academy? He said he's taught at home by his family. Is he in a clan? Asked the father, what's his last name? Uzumaki, she exclaimed, missing the flinch of her father, his full name is Uzumaki Naruto. Emiko looked at her husband before asking, Uzumaki, that's a name I haven't heard in a while. Did you meet his parents? Ino's smile dimmed, no, Naruto-kun's parents died during the Kyuubi attack. He lives with his grandfather and his siblings. Emiko sat closer to her husband and daughter, reaching for her husband's shaking hand. What does Naruto-kun look like? Ino blushed with a shy smile, he looks very cool. She looked away from her parents, he is so handsome, she whispered, getting redder. He is even more handsome than Sasuke-kun, and way cooler, too. Like, he actually talks and smiles and laughs. He has such a cute laugh. That's great, honey, interrupted Emiko, but what are his features like? Like his hair or eyes? Ino grinned, he has blonde hair, too. Inoichi flinched as Ino continued, but not like ours, it's a bit darker. It's also very messy, but in a good way. It's very spiky, but it frames his face perfectly. His eyes, too. They're blue like ours, but darker as well. Like a deep blue. Inoichi shakily breathed out, so he is a blonde-haired and blue-eyed boy with the Uzumaki name? Yep. Ino clasped her hands together to plead, he promised me he would hang out with me again next weekend. Can I please go? Emiko looked at her husband, holding onto his trembling hand. Yes, honey. Of course. I'm happy you made a new friend. Look what he made me today. Ino pulled back the sleeve of her sweater and showed her new personal storage seal to her parents. Isn't it cool? It's our clan symbol. Emiko smiled as her husband was still in a daze, it's very nice. Did he draw it on you? Ino shook her head, no, Ka-chan, this isn't just a doodle. Here, let me show you. She formed a hand sign and molded her chakra before tapping the seal with her right palm. A puff of smoke appeared and shocked both her parents. Ino grinned at their surprise as she held an empty bottle of water in her hand, the same one Naruto used to feed her. See? This is a storage seal. Naruto-kun drew it for me. What do you mean, princess? Asked Inoichi, he made the seal himself. Yes, he did. Ino was gushing, yesterday, she showed me his own storage seal on his arm and I was amazed. He said that he'd make one for me, and he did today. Not only that, but he also changed how it looks. She rubbed over her seal, his seal looks like a whirlpool, because of his clan. So he spent basically the entire night practicing how to make the seal look like a bush clover instead. Isn't he just so sweet? She hugged her arm close again, I can't wait to see him again. Emiko forced a small smile, what a talented boy. I know, right? Inoichi gently placed Ino on the couch and stood up. Sorry, princess. Tuchan needs to go visit your uncle Shikaku for a bit. Ino tilted her head and shrugged, sure, okay. Honey, started Emiko as she stood, too. Inoichi gently rubbed his wife's shoulder, I won't be out too late. It's okay, just. She sighed, figure this out. I need to know if. Inoichi nodded, I know. Me, too. Emiko sat back down and pulled Ino close, trying to pay attention as her daughter went on about her newest friend and obvious crush. She nodded along and smiled at times, but she couldn't help but want to follow her husband. She had to know if her friend's son was still alive. And if he was, why was he hidden away? ANBU Commander Ryu was the longest-serving ANBU captain in history before he was promoted to the rank of commander. Some may consider it an impressive accolade, but the average lifespan of an ANBU member's career was short, whether it be from death or retirement. Not everyone could live in darkness, hunt in the unknown, and die in silence. The ANBU life was grim and ruthless, void of joy or emotion. They all lived in minutes, seconds, they had absolutely no prospects for the long term. After all, death was always knocking on their door. Ryu had comrades once, he had his own superiors and peers. He had looked up to the Sannin in his youth, idolized the white fang of Konoha, and saw the Sandaime Hokage as the god of shinobi, as did most of his peers. But everyone in his generation was gone now. Some had retired into civilian life, some had joined the regular forces and became standard chunin or, if they didn't incur any lifelong injuries or mental blocks, jonin. The rest were killed in the Kyuubi attack, crushed under the mighty Biju's tails or burned to ash. Ryu had almost considered retiring himself after the Yondaime had died, and he would have if not for a lone ember that kept the barracks warm. Again. "Hi, Commander." Chibi stood from the shallow pool, soaked from head to toe, and gathered his chakra again. His brows furrowed in concentration, his frown resembling a pout as he tried to stand on the water. For a second, he succeeded, managing to stand on the pool with minimal ripples forming at his feet, but he soon fell again. "Keep trying until you can stand for 10 seconds. "Hi, Commander." As commander, Ryu rarely left the barracks himself. From the command center, he monitored all men and women in the ANBU with his hawk-like eyes. As much as he was proud of them for conducting their missions up to his strict standards, he was bored most of the time. It was what he was most afraid of when he first took the mantle of commander. Forced to stay in the village, still living in the dark, but had no S-ranked missions to die on if it became too much. It would have been his worst nightmare, had that lone ember not blaze into a bright flame. "Commander, I stood for 8 seconds. Well done. Keep trying." Chibi, the small spark that remained in the ashes after the Kyuubi attack, had effortlessly brought life back into the barracks. It was no longer bleak and dark, nor was it silent or desolate. Ryu could remember first being told of a baby living in barracks and had immediately thought of the crying, of it adding to the sadness, but Naruto rarely cried. The babe had laughed the first time Ryu visited him, reaching for his finger and giggling at his dragon mask. It was the first time in a long, long time that Ryu had heard laughter, genuine laughter. Ironically, he was the one who cried while holding the baby. Commander Ryu swore that day that he would live a full life for Chibi, and he would make sure the boy would grow into a different world that ruined him so. The first change came when Naruto was only a week old. Commander Ryu could not remember who suggested that the bleak, white tube lights were not suitable for a baby, but the Hokage had changed them all to fluorescent soft white bulbs within a day. The morgue-like hallways transformed under the cozy yellow tone and had matched perfectly with the golden fuzz on Chibi's soft head. Then for the first time since the barracks were built during the reign of the Nidaime Hokage, the walls inside the barracks were covered and painted. Rusted steel and dull gray were sanded and covered in dark brown wooden walls, reminding everyone of the tree trunks they had all climbed as children. The cement flooring replaced with warm hardwood, lighter in tone but equally as welcoming. Paths leading away from and to Chibi's nursery even had a stretching, woolly, leaf green rug paving the ground. The Hokage was afraid the boy would hurt himself trying to walk. The baby needed natural light, so the Hokage had skylights built into the dining areas of the barracks, and had even custom-made a playroom for the boy, complete with all-around window walls surrounded by nature. It was the brightest room in the barracks, by far. And to add to security, a high-level genjutsu was placed on the outside of each window, so no one could look inside while Chibi was giddily pointing at the outside. One by one, mission scrolls turned into picture books. Food pills turned into baked goods and home-cooked meals, and everyone started to report to Chibi before reporting to the commander and the Hokage when coming home. Naruto had become the beating heart of the ANBU, and they all loved him to bits for it. 8, 9, counted Naruto as his knees quivered, 10. His ankle sank in the water, but he still grinned. "Commander, I have stood for a consecutive 10 seconds on water." Ryu nodded, his mask hiding his smile. Good work, Chibi. Take a break. The boy bowed, trying to be professional, but couldn't hide his grin. Thank you, Commander. They were using their usual Training Ground 0, located on the lowest level of the barracks, hidden away by chakra-lined walls and tons of cement. It was Ryu's personal training ground, but had since become Naruto's as well. The rock-covered dirt field came in handy when training the boy. It had all the possible requirements the boy could need, including shallow pools for standing and trees for chakra running, and was the safest place in Konoha. Joining the commander at his table, Naruto hopped to sit on his chair and reached for a warm cookie, courtesy of one of his many sisters. Your chakra control is improving quickly, but not quickly enough. Naruto finished his cookie and turned to face his teacher. At this point, your control is beyond that of a regular genin. But your chakra reserves are growing faster than you are improving. We must be one step above your growth rate in order to preserve our progress, so I have decided to expedite our schedule. I'll do whatever is required, Commander. My original plan was to work in the teachings of the Academy along with your ANBU training. However, the Academy teachings have proven to be far too simple for you at this point. You'll still need to finish on your book learning, but the 3 basic jutsu required for graduation you have mastered. Well, at least you've mastered the Kawarimi and Henge. Naruto smiled. The Kawarimi and Henge were easy enough. The Bunshin no Jutsu was a pain to learn, but after your chakra control exercises, I can at least make one that's not deflated. He stood tall. So, what kind of training will we do from now on? Ryu nodded. Hokage-sama and I have carefully planned your training schedule, so there wouldn't be much change, but we have decided to teach you a B-rank jutsu. Naruto jumped from his chair, his eyes widened. Really? Yes, but calm down. The boy breathed out and sat down, his hands on his lap, his training showing results. This is the Kage Bunshin on jutsu. The commander formed a hand sign and a puff of smoke appeared beside him and a clone manifested. This is different from the standard clone jutsu, and you will be able to use this one much easier. These clones are corporeal and can act independently from the original. Naruto's eyes sparkled at the sight. Amazing. This was invented by the Nidaime Hokage himself and is taught to all ANBU recruits as a form of orientation training. The commander's clone sat down as well, both looking at Naruto. This is not a difficult jutsu to learn. The only reason it is classified as a B rank is because of the enormous chakra requirement. Each clone is created by dividing the user's chakra in half, so each clone created splits the user's chakra evenly between them. People with lower chakra reserves, like Genin and some Chunin, should not learn this jutsu. It can easily lead to chakra exhaustion and potentially death. I understand, muttered Naruto, nodding along. You, however, are blessed with the largest chakra reserves I have ever seen. At your age, you already have more chakra than me and Hokage-sama. The boy's eyes widened but stayed silent. And your reserves will continue to grow exponentially as you approach maturity. This jutsu will not be an issue for you for this reason. Well, how many clones do you think I can make right now? With this standard version of the Kage Bunshin, you can create 12 clones, all of which will have a decently sized chakra pool and will be able to last for a decent amount of time. Of course, this variant of the jutsu is limited. The original and unhindered version of the Kage Bunshin has no limit on how many clones you can create. By the time you reach maturity, you will possibly be able to create upwards of 1,000 clones and still feel fine. 1,000, whispered the boy, pondering the possibilities. Yes, which leads to the reasoning behind teaching you this jutsu. The commander leaned forward along with his clone. This technique was created not only for combat, but for reconnaissance. The memories and experiences of each clone, he said as he punched his clone, causing it to disperse into a puff of smoke, is returned to the original upon their destruction. Naruto's eyes widened in understanding. These experiences, do they include muscle memory and learned knowledge? Yes, Ryu answered, while physical changes or gains cannot be transferred back, any sort of neurological connections or reflexed practice will be accumulated. So, with clones, I can significantly accelerate my training regimen. Exactly correct. The commander leaned back against his chair. Training with one clone, you can cut the required time in half. With a dozen right now, any training that would require a year's time will be completed in 1 month. He crossed his arms. When your body reaches, or is close to reaching maturity, you may be able to cram a millennia's worth of training into 1 year. Naruto slumped in his chair, shocked. Is this how upper-tier ninja train? Not at all, Chibi. Ryu sighed. You underestimate the amount of chakra you command. Compared to other children your age, like your new friend, Yamanaka-san, you have at least 1,000 times more chakra than they do. No one, not even Hokage-sama, can possibly train like this. Not only because of chakra requirements, but also stamina requirements. Experience also translates into fatigue. Without your Uzumaki vitality and endurance, no one would be able to survive this kind of training. Naruto looked down, contemplating the news. You have the best of both worlds, Chibi. A near unlimited amount of chakra and a near unlimited amount of stamina. There was a reason why the Uzumaki clan was so revered in the world. They were known as the clan of longevity and could fight for days at a time. But why do I have so much chakra? Asked the boy. I understand my Uzumaki blood, but how come I have so much chakra? Uzumaki clan members are born with higher chakra capacities already. But there are extraordinary circumstances when it comes to your reserves. The commander held up his hand to stop the next question. And no, I am not allowed to tell you. This is classified information and you've yet to acquire the appropriate rank to access such information. Naruto was taken aback, but this is information about me. Nonetheless, you won't know until you've earned the rank. And what rank is that? Jonin or ANBU, either one. Naruto sulked and sat back, crossing his arms. You strive to become Hokage one day, Chibi, so one day soon you will be able to rise to these ranks. If you listen well and train properly, I assure you that you won't have to wait long. Naruto stood and saluted the commander. Hi, commander. I will do as you say. Our immediate goal right now is to have you master your chakra control to an adequate level. With 12 clones, I don't expect this to take too long. Once you have better control, we will begin your elemental training. Going forward, we will large focus on ninjutsu and taijutsu, and if we see significant improvement on your chakra control, perhaps genjutsu, but the latter is not likely. What about fuinjutsu? That is not one of my areas of expertise. Jiraiya-sama will continue to aid in your reading regarding fuinjutsu, but that is a field I will leave for you to discover alone. You've done well so far, and I'll trust you to not go overboard. Naruto nodded. Yes, sir. Good, now come here and I'll show you how to make a Kage Bunshin. The Sandaime Hokage had been in office for over 50 years, longer than both his predecessors and successor combined. He wasn't sure if he had been cursed to wander the earth after his beloved wife's death 8 years ago, but he hoped to join her soon. He missed his dear Biwako and their life together. He had thought at one point, when his naivety and optimism won over experience, he would be able to enjoy his retirement with his wife and their grandchildren. Spending the days with his bonsai trees and his students' books, sharing tea and treats with Biwako, and groom Konohamaru into the next Sarutobi clan head. If life had only been so kind. It was not all terrible. War had not come after the Yondaime's death as most of his advisors feared, or hoped for, in the case of Danzo. The Yondaime's legacy was safe and happy, not persecuted as a Jinchuriki. And he still had time with Konohamaru, at least when the boy felt the need to ambush him in his office. He wondered when he should introduce his two grandsons to each other. Konohamaru could sure use an older brother and Naruto could finally interact with someone younger than him. Hokage-sama, came the voice of his secretary, Yamanaka Inoichi, Nara Shikaku, and Akimichi Chiza have requested your audience. Clearing his throat, he adjusted his hat. Yes, let them in. The doors opened for the 3 clan heads, each an elite jonin of Konoha. Hiruzen could still remember seeing them as children, fresh out of the academy and free from the real world. They were now all battle-hardened family men. How time flies, he thought. Before long, their children would take their place, and if the deities above were kind, someone else would be sitting in this damn chair with this damn hat. Gentlemen, greeted the Hokage, cordially, casually lighting his pipe, what can I do for you? Inoichi and Chiza gestured to Shikaku, and the Jonin commander sighed. Hokage-sama, some troubling information have come to light recently. What kind of information? Asked the old man, and please, take a seat. The 3 men sat, all looking nervous and anxious. Hiruzen sighed inwardly, assuming the reason behind their concerns, but was surprised at the speed of it. When he allowed Naruto to play outside, he had expected some of his parents' old friends to run into him. But apparently according to the ANBU commander, Naruto had managed to befriend and enamor the Yamanaka heiress on the very first day they met. Still, he expected a few more days before a confrontation, but for once they were taking the initiative. Forming a hand sign under his desk, the Hokage activated the silencing barrier built into his office. Yesterday, Hokage-sama, my daughter met a friend in the park. Hiruzen knew they were testing the waters, but felt no need to speed up the conversation. Wonderful, he replied, children finally get to be children. That's the reason we're here, actually. Inoichi turned to look at his teammates and brothers, before turning back to the Hokage. The boy she met was most peculiar. He introduced himself as Uzumaki Naruto, a family name not used since Kushina's death. When I inquired more, my daughter described him as a boy with spiky blonde hair and deep blue eyes. Yes, and? Asked the old man. Shikaku sighed, troublesome. He sat taller and looked at the old man. Is he Minato and Kushina's boy? Yes, he is. Hiruzen watched as Inoichi and Chiza flinch, obviously surprised at how quickly their hunch had been proven. They were easy to read, but the Nara in the forefront was more complicated. He rolled his eyes, seemingly already accepting of the situation. He had always wondered if his Jonin commander knew about Naruto. The man had never asked about it, unlike the many others who did, and in his eyes, now Hiruzen saw relief and elation more than confusion. He is? Asked Chiza, speaking for the first time. I have been waiting to have this conversation for a long time, added the Hokage. Inoichi took a deep breath. Why was he hidden away for so long? Why was he hidden away in the first place? The reasons are quite obvious, answered the Hokage, and were certainly of much higher concern 8 years ago. IWA or Kumo? Asked Shikaku, ignoring the looks of his teammates. Both, but probably more from IWA. Shikaku saw the Hokage smoking and decided to join him, lighting a cigarette with a long, long draw. So, I was right to assume all these years. Inoichi and Chiza were staring at him, as did Hiruzen. Minato didn't kill the Kyuubi, because obviously. He would never destroy the balance between the villages so easily, no. Shikaku stared at the Hokage. He sealed it away into the only person with Uzumaki blood in their veins, his own son. And no, muttered Inoichi, you're not serious. We all knew Minato well, Shikaku muttered, he would do anything to keep the village safe, even if it meant turning his son into a Jinchuriki. Is this why you hid him away? Chiza asked the Hokage. It's a part of the reason, Hiruzen answered. Inoichi gripped his fists against his legs, his knuckles white. So, it's true. It was a secret back then, but I am sure you three knew that Kushina was the previous Jinchuriki of the Kyuubi. Chiza and Shikaku nodded, but Inoichi only stared down at his hands. Through unknown circumstances during Naruto's birth, the Kyuubi was released. We had our suspicions, but our investigations led nowhere. Due to having the Kyuubi extracted from her after giving birth, Kushina was dying. Minato had to react quickly and seal the Kyuubi away, and the only available option was his newborn son. Chiza sighed and bowed his head. He always had to do the right thing, Minato. Yes, added Shikaku, and this is the main reason you hid him away? I did not originally plan to hide him away. Hiruzen sighed and puffed on his pipe. I originally was going to give him his mother's family name and have him live among our people. But my bastard advisor decided to go behind my back. The rumors, muttered Shikaku, Danzo, spread the rumors about a Kyuubi Jinchuriki. The old man nodded, yes, he did. After that, there was no way Naruto could have had a normal childhood in the village. They would have hated him, and possibly even attacked him. I could not take that risk. He sighed, I promised Kushina before she died that I would take care of Naruto, and I've done just that. By hiding him in a dungeon? Asked Inoichi darkly. Hiruzen regarded him coolly, no, in the ANBU barracks, surrounded by people who love him more than anyone else. The three men looked at him in wonder. Hatake Kakashi, Minato's last surviving student, practically raised Naruto himself. ANBU Commander Ryu looked over the boy's well-being ever since the day he was born. Just yesterday, when Naruto was playing with your daughter, Inoichi, his sisters baked him an entire table of snacks and food for his playdate. So, he's happy? Asked Inoichi. He's not locked away and trained as a Jinchuriki? Naruto has no idea about the Kyuubi, but he is being trained. Ever since he was a boy, he's been hounding his surrogate siblings to teach him things. I can happily say that Naruto has taken after his parents. He is as talented as Minato and as passionate as Kushina. In a few years' time, I can see Naruto becoming an essential part of Konoha. Does he know about his parents? Asked the Yamanaka. Yes, he does. Sarutobi leaned against his desk. He was raised as Uzumaki Naruto, but his parents were never hidden from him. Not everybody in the ANBU knows, but most people close to him have made the connection. It's not explicitly known, but it is the worst-kept secret in the ANBU. Glancing over at Minato's portrait hung on the wall, not to mention that he could pass for an actual clone of his father. He looks exactly like Minato, and I mean exactly like him. The only thing he inherited from Kushina is his hyperactivity, which has since been calmed by Commander Ryu's training. Chiza smiled, I'd like to meet him. And you can, replied the Hokage, the fact that he's able to play at the park and enjoy the day with friends is an indication that he is now able to rejoin society. Will you let him join the academy? Asked Inoichi, he'll have friends. He's already met my daughter and I'm sure Shikamaru and Choji would welcome him into the group. Shikaku and Chiza nodded, but Hiruzen shook his head. No, Naruto is already far too advanced for the academy. He's already mastered the 3 basic ninjutsu and is well on his way to elemental training. Sending him to the academy will only hold him back. Shikaku smirked, he really is Minato's kid. His dream is to become Hokage, muttered the Sandaime with a smile, so he's inherited both his parents' dream. So, what's the plan here? Asked Inoichi, have Naruto train with the ANBU until he's strong enough to actually join the ANBU. No, despite growing up in the barracks, Naruto lacks some qualities of becoming an ANBU member, not to mention he has absolutely no practical experience. He is a bright, happy, and cheerful boy without a shred of darkness inside him. If anything, he will thrive in our regular forces. The old man puffed on his pipe. I will wait until Naruto reaches the age of 12, at which point he will become a genin and be placed on a team. He will learn about teamwork, how to associate with comrades, and most importantly, gain some real-world experience. Then why not make him a genin now? Asked Shikaku, he is obviously skilled enough. He isn't an integral part of his training right now, so I would rather him focus on that, to build a solid foundation. Also, when Naruto officially joins our ranks, I want him to take his father's name. The 3 men nodded along, that would put a huge target on his back, so before then, I need to be confident in his abilities. Rest assured, I won't waste his potential. As soon as he acquires enough experience and have shown leadership skills, I will promote him to a rank fitting of his skill. But we can still meet him, right? Asked Chiza. Yes, insisted the Hokage with a smile, Naruto is already quite close with little Ino-chan. Inoichi smiled at that and nodded. He asked me this morning for permission to play with her again next weekend, and of course I allowed it. I don't see why Shikamaru and Chiji couldn't be there, too. You 3 and your wives could maybe pack some food and drinks and made a day of it. Inoichi nodded happily, thank you, Hokage-sama. We will do just that. I'll take care of the food, exclaimed Chiza, we'll take good care of the boy. Troublesome, but I can make the time for this. Shikaku shook his head with a smile, this is not what I expected this morning, but I look forward to meeting the kid. Ino-chan speaks very highly of him, added Inoichi with a smile, she showed me the storage seal he made for her. He really is quite talented for his age. Oh, so he is learning fuinjutsu? Asked Chiza. The Sandaime nodded, yes, Jiraiya has a long-term training plan for Naruto for just fuinjutsu. He will inherit his father's notes when he improves enough, then his mother's notes when he finishes his father's. Well then, it seems our future is in good hands. Shikaku smirked, I was starting to worry. My son is far too much like me to actually take that hat from you, Hokage-sama. And after the whole Uchiha ordeal with Itachi, I was afraid you won't find a worthy successor. Inoichi and Chiza looked surprised, but Hiruzen only nodded. Indeed, but any real possibility is still yet to be seen. We will know for sure in a few years. Shikaku stood and his brothers followed, they all bowed to their leader. Thank you for your time, Hokage-sama, and for your honesty. Yes, Hokage-sama, thank you, added Inoichi, my wife and I will sleep easier knowing the boy is safe and is being taken care of. Chiza laughed, and you should join us next weekend, Hokage-sama. I'll have enough food prepared for an army. The Hokage chuckled, we'll see, Chiza. And you're all very welcome. I've been keeping this a secret for too long and I'm happy to finally tell the truth. I'm sure Minato and Kushina are looking down on us now and are very happy their old friends are looking after their son. Inoichi nodded, we will take good care of him, Hokage-sama. I promise. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. 12 puffs of smoke erupted beside Naruto, each revealing a clone. Each looked exactly like the original, with no imperfections or clear differences at all, much unlike his early attempts at the basic clone jutsu. If anything, Naruto found this clone variant to be much easier to use than the regular clone jutsu. It required much less chakra control, any difficulty with it lay with the amount of chakra needed, and Naruto could barely feel a drain. Naruto smiled at his clones, who all smiled back. This is so cool. As I said, it is not a hard jutsu to master. Commander Ryu stood in front of the small army of chibi, his arms crossed. You still used more time than necessary to create only 12 clones, but we'll work on that as we proceed. What next, Commander? Asked the original Naruto, his clones all grinning and bouncing. Now to compartmentalize. He turned to the clones. You 7 from the left will continue with water walking. Do not stop until you manage to stand on water for more than 30 seconds. Once you've done that, you can work on running on water. We will continue to do this every day until you can effectively fight on water. The 7 clones nodded, dismissed. Hi, Commander. The 5 of you remaining clones will head to the ANBU library. There you will each choose a book from your required reading list. Read until you're too tired to concentrate or until you're low on chakra. Do not disperse yourselves until further notice. Dismissed. Hi, Commander. Ryu turned to the original as the clones sped away. When you become more accustomed to using this training method, weaken more clones. At the moment, the results are secondary. We are working on helping your body and mind adapt to the increased stress of this training method. You will feel tired, much more tired than usual, but given your Uzumaki physicality, I'm sure you can handle it. The mental stress you will incur is perhaps our biggest hurdle. If I assume correctly, you will get a rush of information the instant one clone disperses. Do not disperse them all at once, at least not until you're used to training like this. Take it one at a time and try to organize your thoughts before dispersing the next clone. Naruto nodded, I understand. Good. What should I do, Commander? Asked the original. I assume I will join the clones working on water walking. No, answered Ryu, whenever your clones are training like this, the only thing you have to do is physically train your body. Naruto nodded in understanding. If I recall correctly, Jiraiya-sama specifically instructed you to read about resistance seals. Yes, a while ago. Have you learned how to make them? Yes, I've made a few of them already. We will start using them, instructed the commander. We will need a selection of them with varying degrees of resistance. In proportion, we will place seals on your shoulders, upper and lower arms, chest and abdomen, and all major muscles of your legs. I will let you decide on how much resistance is placed on each seal, and I'll trust you to adjust any increases in the future. This will be your personal project. Is this in preparation on taijutsu training? Asked the boy. Yes, at least preparing your body for the kind of taijutsu training we will undergo. The commander nodded, understood? Yes, sir. Naruto saluted, should I go prepare the seals now? No, we will start with those tomorrow. Ryu gestured Naruto to sit down as he sat down himself. I have a special task for you to do today. The boy looked excited but remained silent. I am impressed with your progression regarding social interactions. Your recent mission to befriend the Yamanaka heiress was a tremendous success, and I want you to explore that area more. Naruto leaned closer, how so? Kakashi, Tenzo, Ko, and I have discussed this closely a few nights ago after we watched your mission tapes. Naruto nodded along. We all agree that your exploration of similar social interactions will become just as important as other parts of your training. Kakashi will discuss more of this with you later, but today I am giving you a new mission. Does it involve Ino-chan? He asked as he jumped from his seat, smiling brightly. Yes, it does. Yes, cried the boy, losing his composure. It had been a long 2.5 days without his friend. Monday and Tuesday went as normal, but everything seemed lacking after meeting Ino. She was so bright, energetic, and fun, now anything not involving her seemed dull and boring. A mission involving Ino-chan that was two of Naruto's absolute favorite things, and he couldn't be happier. Chibi, attention. Hi, Commander. Your mission today is to surprise your new friend at the academy. It is nearing the end of the school day, so the students there should be leaving soon. I want you to find Yamanaka Ino and spend the rest of the day with her. This is an infiltration mission with a reconnaissance component. You will find the target at the academy without being seen by anyone but her. Lead her away from the academy and attempt to spend the rest of the day with her. The goal of this mission is to find out as much as you can about the target. Naruto nodded. Understood, Commander. You have one side objective. Ryu cleared his throat. I want you to count the number of times you managed to make her smile. Make her smile? Yes, understood? Yes, Commander. Good, said the commander with a nod, dismissed. The Ninja Academy, located at the base of the Hokage mountain. The stone faces of the previous Hokage looked down on the new generation, watching over them like eternal guardians. Naruto had heard that story before from the Sandaime. Then another time, Naruto had read that the academy was built by the Nidaime Hokage before the mountain even had the Shodai's face on it, but Naruto digressed. Truth was not important in this case, just as long as the students felt protected by the Hokage. But it was far, much farther away from the ANBU barracks than the park. It was at the very edge of the village, and Naruto had never ventured so far out, but he felt confident and excited. For this mission, Naruto had foregone his godfather's new jacket, opting for more mobility. He still wore a standard issue, black ANBU utility pants and boots, complete with his usual short-sleeved, dark gray fishnet shirt. To blend in more with the civilian population, he wore a simple dark blue, high-collared jacket. It covered his seals well, and the sleeves were stretchy enough to be pulled up if required. Traveling by rooftop, Naruto sped to the Hokage mountain, and soon he found the large building under it. Peering down from a tall water tower, he read the sign The Reed Ninja Academy. If that wasn't clear enough, the mass migration of students from the building should have been enough. It is 2:55 p.m., 5 minutes before the end of the school day. Naruto hunched down as he spoke into his personal log recorder. Target facility is more crowded than anticipated, but given my similar size and age compared to the people within, infiltration should prove simple. Sliding down the building, Naruto slipped into the shadows. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he whispered as a copy of himself appeared beside him. Wordlessly, the clone sped off, fully aware of the plan Naruto had thought up. Silently and seamlessly, the clone merged into the crowd, stepping behind shadows, matching their footsteps, and walked in front of distracted faces. He vanished in the crowd, an ANBU assassin in the daylight. Before long, he had sped into the academy building, speeding from one corner to the other, slipping into shadows against the light, and only stopped when he sensed her. It was the same signature. Purple, soft and delicate, like a swaying flower in the wind. It was Ino-chan. She was in a classroom, still quietly listening to the final instructions of her teacher. Jumping to the ceiling, he silently crawled to the doorway, peering through the small window on the closed door. He saw her immediately, the lone blonde in the class, her hair bright and vibrant. He felt his heart pound against his chest. It had been 2.5 days since he last saw her, and he had missed her much. His rationality returned as he shook his head. He noted that Ino sat near the back of the classroom and was the closest person to one of the windows by the side. Only one other person sat closer to her, another girl with bright pink hair. She was relatively alone. It was the perfect position. Forming a hand sign, he made another clone and immediately dispersed it, sending his memories back to his original. Outside, the real Naruto smiled. Target is located on the second floor of the academy, in a classroom by the easternmost wall. There is window access near the back and the target is the immediate person. A single distraction by the door of the classroom should draw all attention away and leave a wide enough opening for extraction. Forming another clone and destroying it, the original sent his plan to the clone. The clone smirked before attaching a seal to the door. It was a sound tag, or that was what Naruto named it. It was one of his first original seals, capable of recording a sound and relaying it back, volume adjustable. He had originally designed the seal to use against Toru Nai, who would snore loudly in the cafeteria. But the Akimichi ANBU had since changed his habits, and Naruto's invention lay unused until today. Kai. Immediately, the wall vibrating loudness of snoring echoed through the hallway. The door was shaking against its hinges, and the clone wondered if he set the volume too high. With a shrug, he dispersed himself. In that instant, the original Naruto was already by the eastern wall and stood by the window outside, attached to the outer wall by chakra. He chuckled when he heard Torunai's snoring, and when looked inside, he saw the backs of every head as they all looked over at the loud, vibrating door. With a grin, he pressed his hand against the window glass with chakra and slid it open, the snoring immediately becoming louder. Jumping inside, he realized he was right beside Ino. They were close, almost as close as they were on that bench. Her chakra filled his senses, and it was like beholding a beautiful bouquet of flowers, purple and golden. He blushed and his fingers tingled coldly, but he nudged her shoulder. She jumped and turned around. She gasped loudly, but only he heard her over the loud snoring. He winked at her, trying to control the flush he knew was on his cheeks. He pressed a finger to her lips, smiling at her bright and widened eyes. He leaned close to her, shivering as his lips nearly touched her ear. "Be quiet, Ino-chan, and come with me, okay?" She blushed to the roots of her hair, which made her look unbearably cute. He wanted to leave with her immediately, but he had to wait for her answer, staring into her pretty eyes as he did. It felt like a long time, but it was fine, he didn't want to look away anyway. But then she broke her eyes away, breaking his focus, and nodded quickly. Taking that as his K, he grabbed her hand. With everyone, even the pink-haired girl next to Ino, still watching and slowly approaching the snoring door, he pulled Ino into his arms. He knew she couldn't walk on walls yet, and could never endanger his best friend. He lifted her up and scooped his arm under her legs, smiling as held her close. He had seen this before, in a movie he watched with his sisters. It was called a bridal carry, and it was most efficient. Weight distribution was even and he had a sufficient hold on her, enough for him to safely extract his target. "Hold on tight," he whispered. Her eyes widened and her arms tightened around his neck as he jumped out the window, running up the side of the building, heading for the roof. Ino cried out in shock, which almost made him panic, but he was very close to the roof. Luckily for him, Ino's cries were muffled by the strong wind at that height, and before long, he'd landed on the barren roof. Planting his feet firmly on the ground, he grinned at Ino. "Hey, don't worry. You're really light, so I can carry you easily for a long time. I won't let anything happen to you. A fundamental rule of the ANBU, protect your client or target at all costs. But I'm sorry I scared you." "And Naruto-kun," she asked, still reeling from the last 10 seconds of her life. "Do you want to spend today with me?" He was still holding her in his arms, but she was so light compared to his usual training weights, he almost didn't notice. She was also very warm and it felt nice to hold her in the cold wind. "My sensei let me go early and I missed you." She looked like a tomato again. Naruto would have smacked himself had he not been carrying Ino. They were standing on the roof under the afternoon sun, of course she would be burning up again. He wondered how he could unseal a bottle of water with Ino in his arms. He could set her down, but he really didn't want to. Sure," she answered, breaking him from his thoughts as she looked up at him timidly. "I'd love to hang out with you." "Great. Naruto-kun," she called out, her voice against the wind. I missed you, too." He felt his heart tremble and his knees quiver. She smiled up at him. Number of smiles, 1. This was all for now. Thank you for watching, I hope you liked it and that you will be back for more. Please like, share and subscribe. See ya.